Well, here we are. That's not quite as slick as I thought it was going to be, but there we go. I tried. Dean Blundell, Zev Shalev are here, and we are live on the FiveStack. I was about to tell you what was on the show, and then I forgot to.
Yeah.
Now it's a surprise for you and for everybody.
Yeah, that's okay, dude. You know what? We are we're just fine. We're a couple of professionals. I think we kind of know where we're going today. There's some huge news. We got a trade announcement, which wasn't a trade announcement. We got a new pope. We've got a bunch of stuff going on today. It's just really nice to be back with you today, Zev. I'm a little hoarse because if you can hear, I've got the smoky voice going today.
Is this because you're yelling at the hockey game yesterday?
Yeah.
Did we win?
Screaming.
Did we win, as I say?
We won. Leafs are up 2-0. It's listen, for all the people that come here for hot political takes, right? All the people that come here for some culture, all the people that come here for a little education, some fun, some democracy. I love that you're letting me get a little sports in here because this should be a well-rounded program.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I like learning about the sports from you. The sports is very interesting.
The sports, yes. And I love how you say stuff like that. The sports, and being able to educate you as to the run the Maple Leafs are on. They just took two from the defending Stanley Cup champions. Another nail biter last night. Joseph Wall, backup goaltender. He's in for Anthony Stolarz. Stole the show at the end of the game. William Nylander's on some kind of other world right now. He was so good last night. He's driving the offense. And two down with maybe two more to go before the Leafs progress to the third round of the playoffs, which hasn't happened in 23 years. So thank you. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
No problem. I'm thrilled about that. Hey, there's a lot coming up today, so let's get right into it. So we have a new pope. He's American. He's an American guy. Who would have thought he's American? This guy, Prevost, Robert Prevost, is now Pope Leo the 14th. He's a Chicago native. First time in the 2,000-year European tradition that we've seen a American pope. Of course, America hasn't been around for 2,000 years, so that I may explain it. He's a 69-year-old Chicago-born cardinal who spent decades serving in Peru. He's become the first American to ascend the papacy after centuries of domination. I've just mentioned that by Europeans. His dual U.S.-Peruvian citizenship helped overcome the Vatican's longstanding reluctance to select an American pope because they thought, hey, we get a twofer here. We get a guy who can minister to the South Americans, and we get someone who's connected to the Americans. That's one take on it. The other take on it is this is a sign of America's decline. That the fact that they could actually allow an American to ascend to the top of the Catholic Church is because America is just becoming weaker and weaker, and therefore it's okay to do that as a counterbalance. Socially progressive, they say, but not really. I mean, in the context of a Catholic Church spectrum, he's fairly progressive, but not on LGBTQ issues, where he's been quite different than the previous pope. He's been a little bit less supportive of LGBTQ issues. But the conclave has spoken. He's 69. He'll be around for a while, and he's the first American pope in 2,000 years. What do you think?
It's big news that he's an American. The new pope is American. Pope Leo the 14th?
Yeah.
X1V, Pope Leo the 14th, Robert Francis Prevost, or Prevost, however you say it, Chicago-born, 69 years old, like you said, spent time in Peru, had a bunch of clerical jobs, was elevated by Francis, Pope Francis. Pope Francis and him actually quite close friends, and according to traditional Catholic values, they're both fairly progressive. Him, as you pointed out, less progressive on the LGBTQ trans bullshit, but. This guy is a big fan of treating human beings with respect and due process, and he is not a fan of J.D. Vance, and he is not a fan of Trumpism, and he is not a fan of MAGA. And the appointment of a U.S.-born cardinal, and this guy was a dark horse, and it only happened in 2.5 days, so we'll get into that a little bit too. Because I'm shocked that they elected a U.S.-born pope. This is it's not something that's ever been done. The talk around having a U.S.-born pope was always, scholars always kind of look down on it from what I've read. I did a little research on him today. But I think this is a message and an olive branch at the same time. It's a message to Donald Trump and MAGA that the migrant death tour that the MAGA and Trump regime are on right now is not going to wash with the Vatican, something that Pope Francis was really hard on J.D. Vance and Donald Trump about. He's very anti-war, very pro-Ukraine as well, which is very interesting. So this is sort of, he's in charge of 1.4 billion Catholics around the world. He's there. Yeah, and this is not just about faith. This is about politics. This is about the global body politic right now. And so I find this appointment really interesting. I didn't really give a shit about the faith part or his education, but his values and virtues are in stark contrast to what MAGA, J.D. Vance, what the Trump regime is currently doing to the United States and to people in the United States who are there legally from other countries. So, but I do have some breaking news. I don't know if you got this, but Laura Loomer's really angry.
Why? She wasn't consulted? She didn't get the... She's in charge now of all the human resource hiring in the White House, but not...
Unfucking believable,
I don't think she gets to have say over who gets to be the Pope, or does she?
Well, if you ask her, she does. Her first tweet after Robert Prevost was announced to be Pope Leo the 14th. Quote, "This is the new Pope," all caps. "His name is Robert Prevost. He's the American Pope, first American Pope. He's anti-Trump. He's anti-MAGA, pro-open borders, and a total Marxist like Pope France."
Total Marxist. Well, good.
Catholics don't have anything good to look forward to. Just another Marxist puppet in the Vatican. She followed that up with another one 2 minutes after that. The new Pope once retweeted a post about how we need to keep praying for career criminals like George Floyd, the black man that was beaten to death. In a tweet, he said, "May all hatred, violence, and prejudice be eradicated." What prejudice? She says. And she goes on. She's on this crazy Trump. And listen, the Laura Loomer thing is a whole other topic that we could go on for the entire FiveStack on.
Started.
But then she starts retweeting tweets that Robert Prevost posted from 2017. Like the new Pope, Dr. Prevost, supports illegal aliens and open borders. He retweeted tweets in support of dreamers and illegal aliens, and then attacked the President Trump's use of the phrase "bad hombres." And all he did was retweet them. Like it wasn't that he said anything. And keep in mind, the Catholic Church supposed to, and every church is supposed to have this real bent to help people from other countries and migrants and the poor and the marginalized and the downtrodden. So that's, and this guy's really on it. Like, he spent a lot of time in Peru, worked with a lot of really, really poor communities, et cetera, et cetera. But Laura Loomer's really mad, Zev. She's really mad, and she's calling the new Pope a fucking Marxist out of the gate. It's wild.
He is not going to be, I think this is the most important political headline out of this. He's not going to be supportive of the Trump administration's very awful, draconian immigration and deportation efforts. Clearly, he's got a support base amongst the immigrant community. He's been praised for supporting the Venezuelan immigrants as far back as his time in Peru. He's very good on this issue in terms of his understanding of their plight and of how difficult it is for them to not get due process. So I think that's obviously going to upset the president's girlfriend. She needs a happy president. And he may not be that happy.
I can't get over I can't get over the fact that he takes her seriously, even though she is his unofficial side piece officially. But I also can't get over the fact that they're already, and she's not the only one, there are several congressmen and alt-right influencers who are out and out decrying this guy as a commie, a Marxist. He's the fucking Pope. Pardon my language over a religious issue. He's a Pope. And he's there to lead the church. And these guys are so afraid of him already out of the gate. Something good must be happening. They must have picked the right Pope.
They don't want anyone to have a voice comparable to Donald Trump's. They don't want anybody to be able to have a weight or influence over the population in any way other than Donald Trump, because he is the anointed one. He is the one, God has selected for this task that they've put him forward for. So according to MAGA people. So now there's another appointed one. So will they see eye to eye on many things? I doubt it. I do think, on LGBTQ issues, I'm a little concerned to see that the this particular new pope he's more reserved and more traditional. He's been critical of the media support for homosexual lifestyle, whatever that may mean, and same-sex families. So you've got to, I think that there'll be some alignment maybe with the Trump administration on that issue. On ordination of women, I think he's also been quite, conservative about that. In some ways, he's going to be quite similar to MAGA policy. But I think on immigration issues and the fact that he's more progressive in the outreach to the outskirts of the church, he's going to be very different than Trump. But is he conservative? Absolutely. Every pope is conservative. It's just on a scale of Francis was a little bit less conservative, considered progressive, but he didn't change any doctrine. Basically what was there stayed there. He just ministered slightly differently. So I think we're going to get this pope ministering differently than other conservative popes, but the same as Francis. But I don't see any massive changes to the doctrine of the churches coming because of Pope Leo's ascension.
Well, and I don't know that, I listen, I love these conversations when we talk about religion, faith, because the word faith, literally in the Oxford Dictionary, means believing in religious rhetoric minus any facts or fucking proof. So, let's leave the faith part aside and the doctrine and the apologetics of one Mr. Pope Leo the 14th. I just see, in the appointment of this, it's almost like the Vatican and the Catholic Church and the cardinals this is 2.5 days, right? It was 48 hours. Boom, boom, boom. Guy's a new pope. I'm interested to learn that the longest conclave ever was 3.5 years. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. 3.5 years? They stayed in there for 3.5 years?
I highly doubt they did, but yeah, it was 3.5 years before they appointed a pope. They just kept voting for 3.5 years. Anyway, it was in the 1500s or something like that. So 2.5 days is really fast. And what's interesting about this is knowing the heater that MAGA's on when it comes to removing the human rights of individuals in the United States, specifically migrants, people of color, marginalized communities, poor people, kids, children. I mean, that's the church's bag right there, right? That's visions of Pope Francis washing people's feet every single year. Visions of what Mother Teresa was all about, whether or not you know her history. I mean, you get into her history, she wasn't really that nice. But feeding people, helping people, bring me your poor, bring me your downtrodden. Well, those are the people that Donald Trump's targeting with performative raids and sending them all to concentration camps. So it's in direct contrast to what the Catholic Church wants to really be known for, outside of what we also know them for. A lot of stuff bad, some stuff good. But this is a direct shot, in my estimation. And I talked with a friend of mine after it happened, who's very, very Catholic, and he was like, "Hey, man, this isn't a repudiation of Trump. This is like, we're going to keep our eye on you." Francis, generally speaking, stayed out of this stuff, right? And to reach into the United States, to have a guy who's not a MAGA guy, he's not a Trump guy, he's very conservative, but a lot of his views are in contrast with what Donald Trump and the Trump regime are doing. He said he sees this more as a bit of a leash, on the American Catholic community. And it's also an attempt, and I thought this was interesting, he said it's also an attempt to bring together a pretty fractious, Catholic base in the United States, because you do have a bunch of hardliners that are MAGA aligned, and then you got a bunch of normal Catholics who are like, what you're doing is fucking wrong. Like, and Robert Prevost, prior to becoming the Pope, put out a tweet a few days ago. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you saw this. I actually put it in a post just introducing people to him at Substack, so you can go and have a look. DeanBlundell.substack.com. But he repudiated J.D. Vance publicly. He said J.D. Vance is wrong. Vice President Vance is wrong for what he's doing to these people. So it's going to be interesting, and MAGA's already attacking him, which is
look. I think even though MAGA's attacking him, it does not actually mean that MAGA is not supported by a vast number of Catholics and the institutional Catholic Church in the United States. I mean, really, his base is largely religious, and although there's some very liberal Catholics out there, for the most part, Catholics are more aligned with Republican MAGA policies than Democratic policies, and whether it's abortion or other issues, that's where they line up. So, and you think about Opus Dei's involvement in the election of Donald Trump, and this is they fit into the world of Donald Trump a lot more than they don't. And I think that's where we're going to stand. I think we've now got another conservative male leading American who's got he's got some conservative ideas about how things should run in terms of family, in terms of women equality, and all those kinds of things. He'll be progressive, no doubt, in terms of his outreach to the migrant communities and to the rest of the world. But we don't, this is not a game changer. I don't think this is yet, alignment with MAGA's policies and sort of a return to a conservative view of the world, which is where more conservative than we were with Francis. So that's where I think we are at with number 5, the story about Leo. The Pope Leo.
Yeah. Damn, but I love the handle. I got to be honest with you.
What is it? Why Leo? Do you know why it's Leo?
I didn't ask. It's actually Pope Leon, Leone, Leon, okay. Pope Leon, which is very Italian. Pope Leon, and Pope Leo for short. So no, I just think he thought it was a cool dig, right? And I'm surprised to learn there was 13 before him.
Well, there's a lot of popes. There's a lot of popes. It goes back a while, but 14 is you're right. I wonder what the other apparently does mean something. If you've got if you take someone else's name, you're sort of following in their tradition.
Yeah.
At number 4,
we'll have to look at all the other Leos. Sorry, number 4. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
After 15 tumultuous weeks, Trump's loyalist U.S. attorney, acting U.S. attorney, I should say, Ed Martin, has been ousted before his Senate confirmation. Martin, who has no prior experience as a prosecutor, sparked controversy for targeting Trump's perceived enemies directly, including those involved in the January 6 investigations. He, of course, was involved in doing January 6, so it's quite a thing that he was going after the investigators. Career prosecutors were fired or demoted during his 15-week period at the U.S. Attorney's Office, particularly those who worked on the Capitol riot cases, which is complete no-no, of course. They're allowed to do that kind of stuff, and they don't have to agree with the president. And Martin ultimately had 1,600, the 1,600 January 6 cases that were ultimately pardoned were all part of Martin's purview there. Democratic critics have accused Martin of violating legal ethics by attempting to freeze Biden climate grant funds against career prosecutor recommendations. I don't even understand that sentence, but I just read it, so I apologize. But, it happens. But Ed Martin is gone, and Ed Martin is thankfully another example of how if you push back hard enough, maybe we can save the judicial system, because this man had no role in the judiciary, and to have him as a U.S. attorney was just nonsense. He was just basically a hired gun going after Trump's political opponents. And it's good that he's gone. He was also really one of the big organizers of January the 6th, which, places him right in the middle of a huge crime, trying to overthrow the government of the United States and the will of the people.
Yeah, quite a day for Donald Trump yesterday. I believe Tom Tillis stepped in and said, Ed Martin's an employee of the Russian government as well, so that's a big fucking no-no.
Right. He worked for the Russian Today, right?
Yeah.
At quite an expensive salary he was earning there per appearance, if I'm not mistaken.
$25,000 a month, dude.
Yeah, 150 appearances. Wow.
Yeah, it's something else, isn't it? So the Ed Martin thing, you can dovetail that into, and just, you're right, it's like the fox being in charge of the fucking hen house. It's just crazy. But the other thing that happened yesterday was the ousting of the Surgeon General, where Donald Trump got rid of an actual doctor and replaced her with a woman named Casey Means, who parades around as a doctor. She's not. She's never finished her residency. She's not a real doctor. And she's never practiced medicine. She didn't finish her residency. She didn't finish medical school. And the fascinating part about this woman is she's got this newsletter at Beehive. So Beehive is like Substack, right? Mm-hmm. She's got this newsletter at Beehive where she's put out such articles like, quote, how to manufacture your own Ozempic at home. How I manifested a marriage, and then she continues to detail how she manifested finding a husband by getting super stoned on mushrooms and meditating in the park.
It might be one way to do it. I don't know. How did she meet him? How did that actually lead to her meeting him?
She also not only is a dropout, she doesn't have any specific medical training whatsoever, other than general medical training that she went to when she was in medical school before she dropped out. And she does a whole bunch of health and wellness shit, including, and I could be wrong here, but if I'm reading this correctly, including selling like fake remedies to people over the past like 10 years on her Beehive newsletter. And she's most notably known for a solid 6 minute a solid 6 minute rant where she went on a tirade trying to expose the conspiracy in the health industry and woke medical schools for a solid 10 minutes at a congressional hearing. That's probably the last time or the first time you may have heard of Casey Means, but she is indeed, she's not a fucking doctor. She is, just like Ed Martin, was not a practicing lawyer or a legal expert, and he was operating as the Attorney General for the United States of America. Just another great DEI hire for Donald Trump of someone who is legitimately insane.
Wow. I mean, it's not surprising. They don't have much of a deep bench, and I think she'll fit right in there with Robert Kennedy and with Mehmet Oz. I think she'll be, it'll be great. She's got the crackpot alley is going to be doing just fine. They'll be able to, I'm sure they'll have very much agreement on their policy.
Just a bunch of like dirt-eating losers that think if you put blue iodine in your Cheerios, you're going to live forever. Like people that love like Reiki crystals, and they think that all to cure cancer, you just got to put crystals around your head at night. You're going to be fine. That's also an article on her Substack about the healing power of Reiki crystals. She is your new Surgeon General of the United States.
You're a subscriber of her Substack, or?
Well, no, I looked through her Beehive channel because I have an account of Beehive. It's just, again, another.
You tried Beehive? I tried Beehive.
I signed up for it, but I didn't do anything on it because I didn't like it. Substack is it's such a more robust community, and it's so much easier to operate than Beehive, I thought.
You get more money out of Beehive if you can actually get the same subscriber base, but you can't get the same subscriber base because they don't have the same community, and they don't do this well on video. So I tried it for a few months, and it was like, okay, I don't see any growth here because you don't have the community. So they don't want to really plug into there. You got to come in with your own pre-built audience.
I think Beehive is like Rumble of newsletters, if you ask me. That's kind of how I understand it. There's a whole bunch more of those guys over there than there are in Substack. Substack's a little more unbiased.
There are quite a few of those, and then they have this ad thing built in, but it's not very effective. So anyway, that's a huge aside. Well, thank you for sharing that information. I had no idea about the.
Sarah Means, Casey Means, she's literally a crackpot. She's the new Surgeon General. Yeah. It's like it would be like everybody knows some of these people in their neighborhood. Mm-hmm. It would legitimately be like that crazy lady with armpit hair that walks around with a burlap sack filled with vegetables all the time, or who makes her own granola bars. And
they really want to turn us back into like the dark ages. They want to send us all back to like living off the land. Complete feudal system. It really is what they're doing. It's not even a shock. Number 3 on the countdown today. I don't know if you've been following this, but I'm interested in your take on it because Sean Diddy Combs is currently on his trial's about to begin, and they cannot find one of the key witnesses. So you got victim number 3 who's been unreachable as prosecutors are unable to contact the crucial witness. No one knows where she is, but her lawyers as well seem to be working on undisclosed personal issues. That's the excuse that they're giving. No one knows where she is. No one knows where the lawyer is. It may really jeopardize the trial. Some people speculate. I mean, could it be something else? Could it be that they've been paid off? Could something else be going on with her? Where is victim number 3? And what does it mean for this big trial? Curious about your take on Diddy.
It's funny because I only started paying attention to this. Obviously, this has been going on for several months, and it is wide-ranging, and the allegations are fucking insane. And 10,000 bottles of baby oil filled with MDMA, mansions and sex trafficking, and relationship with Diddy and Meek Mill, audio and video of that leaking, which has gone around. The videos of him beating the shit out of his girlfriend in the hotel room. All the people coming out saying, yeah, he had those parties, and yeah, that's why I left. Obviously, the people trying to distance themselves from him. But from my understanding, there are like 6 dozen lawsuits, individual lawsuits, civil lawsuits that his victims have filed. On top of this incredible trial where they have hundreds of victims and hundreds of witnesses lined up to destroy this man's life because he spent the last 20 years destroying other people's lives with drugs and sex and honeypotting people. And the allegations of what we've seen when it comes to Diddy are just as bad, if not worse, than Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, it's not
very
just
similar to Jeffrey Epstein, isn't it? I mean, it seems like it's.
Yeah,
that's what you get a sense of, that it's sort of an intelligence operation of some sort, that it's not really what we think it is.
Yeah, and it's bizarre because he appeared in court the other day, and there's the sketch drawings of him. He looks much older. He's got gray hair. Obviously, don't have to die in prison. And dude has been in prison for months, like a maximum security prison for months for a reason. So, in light of knowing a whole lot about the witness that they can't find, I've been so focused on other news that trying to catch up with how intense and insane this is. It's almost like we put it to the side. This is going to be the trial of the century.
If it happens. I mean, truthfully, if they have paid off these witnesses, or if they've disappeared some other way, victim number 3 is apparently a very important witness. She might be this very girlfriend you're talking about, this ex-girlfriend. And if she's not there to testify, is this just another way for rich people or super rich people to either, buy their way or threaten their way out of testifying, or out of these cases? Because I note as well, Virginia Giuffre's death, Jeffrey Epstein's main accuser, very suspicious circumstances still. No one understands why. And so, if it's a cleanup operation where they're either threatening people or they're paying off people, then we may never get to see justice for Diddy. But clearly he was involved in some nefarious stuff.
Is there any rumor as to who victim number 3 is? Because I'm catching up on it now. Well, everybody with the exception of this one victim, who apparently the prosecution calls pivotal, plans on using their own name. They plan on being front and center, take their power back, that kind of stuff, which is great. But I don't know who victim number 3 is.
She's an ex-girlfriend. I think she might be the ex-girlfriend in that video where he is beating up, or appears to be beating up somebody. I think that's who it is, but I can't be sure, and I don't want to say it is because that's why they have an anonymous name around her. So I don't.
Yeah, I think it's who you're talking about is Cassie Ventura,
okay.
And she plans on using her name and being front and center. But there are several others, including she's victim number 1. I'm not sure who victim number 2 is, and victim number 3 has not been named as of yet, and was promised anonymity if she testified. So the fact that they can't find her, to your point, Diddy trial thrown into chaos as key witness goes missing. The witness in the Sean Diddy Combs trial is reportedly MIA, throwing disgraced bad boy mogul sex trafficking case into chaos. Opening statement set to begin next week. Jury's already been, I believe, figured out.
Yeah.
But they can't find one of the female victims who is central to their case. She does not live in New York, where Combs' case is being handled, and the defense has basically said either put up or shut up, producer or not. And they're desperately trying to find her. So, if something happened to her too, and I go back, the Giuffre thing is insane. She got hit by a bus, and then she apparently took her own life. Like I don't think that happened. And especially when, and here's the other thing. You want to talk about crazy trials. Yesterday I watched Pam Bondi lie through her teeth that the FBI is currently going over hundreds of hours of sex tapes of Jeffrey Epstein, and unfortunately they can't talk about this. And Donald Trump's name is on the manifesto, and there's no information that's come out about this guy. And then magically, a woman who won tens of millions of dollars after being the whistleblower, who after the whole case was over, Virginia Giuffre, said she's just so excited she gets to go live her life and speak her truth. She gets hit by a bus and takes her life. Something stinky here.
Yeah, and the family supporting that the narrative there about how she took her life. But I do believe that there's some intimidation going on, or something like that going on, because it's just very unusual. And Virginia Giuffre was a pretty strong woman, Pretty, what do you make of? And this is a total curveball. Feel free to say nothing about this.
Talk to me. I love curveballs.
Someone on the chat was just asking that the Biebs has a story to tell. This is Justin Bieber and Diddy. There is a story there that we do not know, and maybe it's none of our business, but it is clearly something unusual was going on there.
Yeah, the Bieber angle's interesting because lots of videos that have come out since Usher found Bieber, I believe, handed him over to Diddy, and the videos of him intimidating Justin Trudeau as a kid. Sorry, not Justin Trudeau, Justin Bieber as a child, trying to feel him up for a wire during an interview, chastising him for not returning his phone calls, and then the recent subsequent apparent mental health struggle that he's having as the Diddy thing has started to ramp up. And the fact that he's basically removed himself from the public eye, didn't go to the Met Gala, stayed at home, watched the Leaf game like a good Canadian boy. But there's something fishy there too, because Bieber has not said very much at all. And he has kept a very low profile since all this stuff broke. And it was very public. His relationship with P. Diddy, with Usher, and all of those guys are wrapped up in this Diddy trial. So I'm how do I say this? I feel sorry for Justin Bieber. And it's hard to feel sorry for a multimillionaire that's got it all.
Oh, I get it. Have you met him? Have you ever met Justin?
No, never.
I did. I met him on a show that I produced. And, I was really annoyed. He was late, by the way. He was late for this broadcast we were doing with like thousands of his fans at the Museum of Natural History. And I had a limited window, and they knew I had a limited window. But anyway, he arrived late, and I was so annoyed that he was arriving late. I was like, why isn't he a professional? But he's the kid, right? He's just a kid who's having a fight with his girlfriend. That was the story of the day. He was having this big blowout, and he just didn't want to do the show. And to me, I was like, well, that's unprofessional, whatever. But then there was a moment when I caught eyes with him, and I was like, oh, this man is in pain. This man is not like loving his life right now. He hates all these girl fans that are teenage girlfriends that are running around. He absolutely despises them and talks about them so negatively, about and yet he's sort of like, you could just tell like he's just was in agony. And I thought, that's not what I was expecting. You're expecting this happy pop star to show up, and the truth of it is that is a very difficult life for anybody. And even if you're plucked from obscurity and land up in this incredible, privileged position of having so many fans and so much money, boy, you're going to meet some characters along the way that might be really unsavory. You got people who are going to try to do things to you. There's just, you get a sense that there's a lot of hurt going on there.
Yeah, no, and he's been really public about it, right? Like he didn't know how to handle it. He talks about how a bunch of gnarly shit happened when he got to Hollywood, and he was unsure about it. I know he's been to a couple of sex parties because I know a guy that was at one with him. So, he didn't say anything about Justin Bieber doing anything wrong. But and I don't know if it was a Diddy party, to be honest with you. I know that they have those kinds of weird fucking parties in Hollywood, and think about it. I mean, you pluck that kid off the streets of Stratford at 13 years old, and you plug him into that scene.
Sex parties are not a new phenomenon, and I don't think that
I've never been to one though. I've heard about them.
They happen.
Maybe there's a reason I've never been invited. Maybe.
I'm not even going to go there. But number 3 on the countdown.
Oh, you don't want to finish that? You don't want to finish that thought? I'm not. I apparently don't have orgy face. Like I don't. They don't. Like a lot of people look at me and they're like, "Hey, don't invite him because he's not an attractive man." I'm like, "Oh, man,
you're a very attractive man." Number 2 on the countdown. So he tries to change the topic. Joe Biden. We spoke about him yesterday. He showed up on The View today with Jill Biden. Better than he was in his BBC appearance. He seems to be more alert, more awake. I think Jill really wakens him up, and I think the live wakens him up. And I think and we've seen this, we know this about Joe. When he's in front of a crowd, boy, he wakes up. It's a much more electric kind of thing. When he's having an intimate sit down with somebody, maybe he's not as eloquent and as passionate as we are, but they were better. Today, he slightly changed his tune about saying about why he quits. He said that he just didn't want to split the party, and he said that Trump is having the worst 100 days of any president, and that's true. I think that's true. So he was certainly took out some hits at Trump, but he said that he did not believe that he was having cognitive decline in his last few years in the White House. And Joe Biden backed him up, saying that there was not a cocoon around him, that he's been the same for many years, and that this was not cognitive decline. I mean, it's just the way. And I know people who worked with him in the White House who said, the thing is about him, he's either high energy or he's kind of just not. And it doesn't change his abilities to calculate decisions or whatever, but he's either, it's Joe. It's sometimes he mumbles, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he has difficulty expressing himself, sometimes he doesn't. Doesn't take away, as I think they were trying to say on the View, of his extraordinary public service and the extraordinary record of his presidency, which contrasted to this one. Boy, I mean, he was a rock star compared to Donald Trump.
Yeah. I listen, I would start this part of the conversation for the number 2 story about Joe Biden on the rounds with, I like Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden was an excellent president. Really appreciate him. Talked about how comfortable I was having him in charge of the United States of America for 4 solid years after Trump. But Joe's on a, salvage your reputation tour. That's part of this. Like he left office, didn't say much. He's been vilified as being, some kind of slow geriatric who was out of it. And like you said, his team built a cocoon around him. And I think there's some reputation, repair that's going on in and around the narrative that other people built for him of just being out of it all the time because he's too old for the gig. I didn't see him on The View, but what I think is really interesting about Joe Biden coming out and doing a tour right now, because that's really what this is, right? He's kind of going around doing a bit of a tour to reclaim something. What I think is really interesting is that presidents generally, former presidents, keep a very low profile and almost never comment on the current president, specifically within the first year.
Yeah.
And like, if you remember when Trump was running roughshod from 2016 to 2020, Obama didn't say a word, and people were going, "Hey, dude, are you going to say something?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I'm not. I got to let this, this administration, now a regime, do their thing. It's just the former presidential thing to do." And Joe Biden is taking some big swipes at Donald Trump, and I believe he did today again. And he's, like I said, he's unconventional, but at the same time, that's also part of this. It's, the smashing of norms on top of Joe Biden really trying to claim his reputation again as maybe one of the most impactful presidents in U.S. history, which he was.
Do you think it's legacy, or do you think it's he just actually believes in democracy so much and he's so anti-Trump that he's actually just trying to take it to Donald Trump again? There's no standard bearer right now for the Democratic Party, and no one's out there. And I think he probably just feels it in his guts that he's got to go out there and speak for the Democrats and also speak against Trump. And he's got the record to speak about that. Mm-hmm. I found it really interesting that he sort of dodged the issue about whether he and Obama still speak, which apparently it's gotten very frosty between the two of them because Biden really supported Kamala, at least for the beginning part of that whole thing. And many believe that that Obama actually pushed Biden out. That was his efforts that ultimately pushed Joe Biden out of the race. So I think that's created a lot of animosity. He said during his View interview today that he was trying to, end all the infighting. That the reason why he had to resign from the fight was to end the infighting in the Democratic Party. He felt like he couldn't lead a united front there. But that infighting, I think, is reference to Obama.
Yeah, you know what? We'll never know. I'm sure someone will write a book about it, and I'm sure we'll find out some of the details. But to your point, do I think that this is a reputation reclamation, PR tour, or do I think that he's really standing up for democracy? I think it's both. I think he still has a tremendous reputation in the United States of America and around the world. And I think what he's trying to do, I think he's, aside from the PR campaign, I think he's also trying to insert some common sense and some calm into the conversation around the damage that Donald Trump is doing. I think he's sticking up for democracy, to your point. I think he's trying to speak to the better angels in the United States of America, which is why I find it weird because, weird in a good way. I like it when people break with norms for the right reasons, right? Like, You know, I like it when the Catholic Church decides to go a different direction and accept gay people as human beings. Like, you know what I mean? Good way to break that norm.
Yeah.
And I also like it when you break that presidential silence norm after you leave office and allow the other guy to destroy his life or make America better, because Donald Trump is Joe Biden's president right now, right? And he's coming out very forcefully against him and has for the past week, whether it was the Vatican sit down with the BBC, whether it was today on The View, which I'm excited to catch up on. But you know, I think it's a lot of both. I think, you know, Joe Biden's a man of character. You know, Donald Trump is not. And to see character on display while character isn't on display, I think it shows a fulcrum of what America is missing, and hopefully it wakes some Americans up in the process.
That's very well stated. I think you're right about this being timed, you know, specifically around the 100 days of Donald Trump is a key indication of what they're trying to do. He did call it the worst 100 days of any president he'd ever had. He's had a few, you know, he's not the youngest guy in the world. So, you know.
He's seen a lot of 100 days, yeah.
The number one story on the countdown today is all about Donald Trump's historic US-UK trade deal. Or was it that historic? Was it just another faux deal? Was it something other than it appeared? The deal apparently removes Trump's 25% tariffs on British steel and aluminum, and allows 100,000 UK-made vehicles to arrive in the United States tariff-free, but only 100,000. After 100,000, it's going to be 25% tariff on those too. It also includes all these cooperation agreements and all this other stuff. It allows some agriculture products to be sold in the UK, which had not been previously sold, like the beef and other stuff. But what you're saying on your very good Substack analysis today at deanblundell.substack.com is that this is more of a concept of a plan than it is an actual plan.
He loves those.
Yes.
Never wants to commit to a plan. He likes to have a concept of a plan and then roll that concept around and not actually have a plan. This is not a trade deal. This is the opposite of a trade deal. It's comprehensive in name only. The US-UK trade deal is just, you know, and experts are panning it as a photo op at best. Donald Trump announced it today sitting behind the Resolute desk, and he used a couple of words that I thought were really funny. He's like, yeah, we're gonna put this on paper. We're gonna get it down in the next few weeks. So there's no deal to be had at all. Into the details of the deal, which he put out a tweet today, which made me laugh. He's like, the agreement with the United Kingdom is a full and comprehensive one that will cement the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom for many years because our long-time history and allegiance together. It is a great honor to have the United Kingdom as our first announcement. It's not a trade deal. It's an announcement. It's
announcement of a deal. It's an announcement of a deal. There's something coming. There's something coming.
And then he says this, many other deals which are in serious stages of negotiation to follow.
Yeah.
Now, what is the deal? Justin Wolfers is one of my favorite followers. He's an economist. You can see him all the time on CNN. He's an Aussie dude, and he's really smart.
Very good. He's very, very good.
And he explains things in layman's terms. And just
get
break
him on
this
the
down
show.
real. Yeah, I'd love to have him. Trump's big trade deal with the UK. It is a framework, not a deal, which you know. They are our 11th largest trading partner. They're only 3% of U.S. trade, 97% to go, he says, and they already charge average tariffs on only 1%, limited upside. This is a photo op with little macroeconomic impact or significance whatsoever. And the great part about this deal, that's not a deal, this announcement of maybe a deal, is that the announcement is with a country. And if you remember Donald Trump's entire stated impetus for all of these bullshit tariffs was to correct trade surpluses and, as he calls them, subsidies to other countries. The United States operates a massive trade surplus with the United Kingdom. So none of this stuff matters in the big scheme of things, and none of it is real. This is what they've kind of agreed to in the framework. To your point, 25% tariffs on British metals are gone. It's a win for UK producers and aerospace markets. Still not a deal. Autos, sort of. If you want to buy a Jag or a Land Rover, sure, they're going to send them over still. But as you pointed out, first 100,000 are sans 25% tariffs. However, there's still 10% tariffs on all of those, by the way. All of them still have
everything still gets 10%, yeah.
Ethanol and beef experts. You remember when Howard Nutlick was going on? He's like, they don't like our beautiful beef and our gorgeous chicken because we put a little bleach on it from time to time. Remember that? He's and he said, and in the UK, he's like, yeah, we don't import beef with chicken or any meat from you guys for that reason because it's got chemicals on it, idiot. Anyway, U.S. farmers get easier access to beef quotas. The UK said they're gonna consider sending around more chicken, American chicken and beef in the United States. Tech cooperation that was in there, very vague, undefined. And here's the catch. England has agreed that the British Airlines is going to purchase $10 billion worth of Boeing aircraft because if you remember, Ireland, France, several other countries, France not so much because they're Airbus, China canceled hundreds of billions of dollars in deals with Boeing. So this is like a hey, can you just buy a few planes for my guys at Boeing because they're really getting their asses kicked because everybody's canceling their Boeing orders. So what isn't in the deal? Zero comprehensive services deal. There's no investment. There's no digital trade framework. There's no labor, environmental, or IP standard. There's no treaty text. And experts quote, it's just a kind of a deal, but it's not really a deal, but at least it's a start, I guess. And that's what every major economist, including Tim Brightbill, Jonathan Haskell, Jonathan Portes, and Justin Wolfers, that's what they're all saying today. And every major newspaper around the world is laughing at Donald Trump and posting his announcement and widely mocking him because he still does not have a single trade deal after all this. And markets didn't move today because they're tired of seeing this.
Because basically what this like performance thing was today, it's an extortion scheme, which just proves the extortion scheme. Basically, he threatens all these countries with 25% tariffs on all these key things. And then when they come to the table, he drops them because they're coming to the table. But that's just, that's not the way to do business. That's not the way to do business.
No?
No. I'm going to threaten to destroy your economies. But if you come talk to me, I'll let you go. Kiss the ring, and I'll let you
That's
off.
all this is.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was so fucking desperate for a deal. If you remember when he was sitting with Mark Carney, who, I did the timestamp. Go to my Substack and read it. Mark Carney, 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Donald Trump spoke for 29 minutes and 27 seconds. And Mark Carney managed to insult him the entire time, and Donald Trump didn't know. But in that press conference, he was so sick of people asking him about deals, and he said, never ask me about a deal. We're not going to talk about it anymore. We're just going to show up with 100 deals. Well, guess what? He pimped this announcement, told everybody to come and ask him about a deal. Turns out, indeed, it is not a deal. It's a concept of a deal that they're working on right now with the United Kingdom, and it took the United Kingdom by surprise today. There was a report out that Keir Starmer's like, he's doing what? He's announcing what? We don't have
That's very funny because I was wondering, why did Keir not show up? This is one of those things you show up for, right? You don't have to be on the phone. He was on the phone.
Yeah, you show up, you got the flags, you got people, you answer questions, tell us about the deal. What's
shake
so great?
hands.
And Keir Starmer was shy. He wakes up this morning, looks at his phone, the Prime Minister of England. He's like, he's what? He's announcing what? We don't have a fucking deal.
And I'm going to call in by telephone. This is how we're doing it. I'm not even like a video thing. I'm not there to shake hands. I don't get the moment. So yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. Well,
Well, I know I am because I agree with every major economist. As a matter of fact, they agree with me.
Well, they should because you're always right. You're never wrong, at least.
I'm really glad that you said that. I need you to tell my partner that, actually.
He's always right.
Thank you.
Never wrong. You know that.
Thank you.
No problem. That's the show for today. That's the
that was a quick one.
FiveStack. It was as quick, but it was the same length as it always is. So maybe it was just entertaining for you.
I really enjoyed this. I really enjoy this. I enjoy working with you, Zev. I'm a little happier today because the Leafs won. They're up 2-0. I think it's like 17 degrees outside in the beautiful city of Toronto, where I live.
So nice.
I'm going to get outside. I'm going to go for a walk, and then I'm going to go have dinner with my family, and then I'm going to go meet Steve Schmidt for a cocktail from The Warning here on Substack.
I will warn you that that's not...
he likes to cocktail.
He likes to cocktail. He really likes to cocktail. Send him my best.
Can't wait.
Boy, I'm not a cocktail drinker the way he is a cocktail drinker, but he is very nice. He is very nice. And
we're doing a Canada America Substack Influencer Summit this evening, and so I'll report back to you. I really like Steve. Everybody should follow Steve.
Yeah, he's
I
a great
almost
guy.
he called me yesterday. They called me, and I didn't get the message until late. It's like, hey, can you join us for the podcast today at 8 p.m.? So I got back to him 4 hours later, and I'm like, and they're like, oh, we've already booked Ryan Lizza, and I'm like, I'm not qualified to do a podcast with you guys. If your second choice was Ryan Lizza, maybe I underestimate myself, but that guy's a hell of a journalist.
You're a hell of a booking too, though, sir. You make good TV, a good Substack,
buddy,
whatever you call it.
Thank you. So
we're not on tomorrow, and then you're away. Are you not away?
We're not on tomorrow.
It's Friday. We can do it tomorrow, but
I don't know why you're taking Fridays off all of a sudden.
You're the one who wanted to take Fridays.
No, because it was at 5:30. I couldn't do it at 5.
Oh, so you can do 3 p.m.s?
We can do 3 p.m. on Friday. We did it last week. We're going to do
no
it this
problem.
week.
Let's do the FiveStack on Friday.
You.
No
we
problem.
Need Friday Substack tomorrow.
Oh, I was doing it for you.
No, I am gone as of Monday, but I want to try and get some special FiveStacks in from the beautiful Italian countryside.
You're going to work on vacation?
Oh, yeah. No, dude, no days off.
Really?
No days off. Yeah, and it was funny because I had to have this discussion with my partner where I'm like, hey, I know we're going on a trip of a lifetime, but do you think I could carve out a couple hours in the morning before you wake up?
You're going to get there and regret this decision. You're going to get there and you're like, I like it so much. You're not? You're going to be sure about it? Be sure. Okay.
No, because I want to bring people with me. You know what I really want to do is I want to talk to Italians about how they feel about the United States of America, how they feel about Canada, and how they feel about Trump. So I'm going to take a little bit of equipment with me. I got the green light yesterday, and I will be ready to FiveStack, not every day, but I am going to carve out lots of time for you and the people of Substack. I have been absolutely, and I say this all the time, and it sounds, maybe it's starting to sound disingenuous, but I've been emotionally charged up. I have been saved by the people on this app and in the community that we've built in such a short period of time. I have been buoyed by the beautiful American subscribers to my Substack. I think 75% of the people that follow me at deanblundell.substack.com are from the United States of America, and they have, and I mean, just an incredible, contingent of Canadians. I think I've got subscribers from 120 countries around the world. I even have a couple Russian subscribers. So there you go.
I believe.
Hopefully, it's not the Kremlin.
You have some Italian subscribers too who would love to meet you on vacation as well.
Yeah, so I'm all in. This is my job. This is where I live. This is what I do, and getting to do this with someone of your caliber on a daily basis, and getting to communicate with the kind of people that we get to communicate with, and really share in like-minded values and virtues has been a game changer, and quite honestly, it's changed my life in so many wonderful ways that I'm a be Substacking on vacay. So
it shows your commitment, but it also is true what you're saying about Substack. Just what a great community, and they have. I was just saying this the other day, how so many journalists who would otherwise be out of work and sort of depressed to God knows what, have found a second lease on life here, and are able to connect with other professionals. And sometimes I think the content that comes out of Substack is so much more real and raw and authentic than anything you've ever seen on TV. And it covers such a vast spectrum. And working with you has been like one of the most, revelationary parts of my life, because I've had other partners on these shows, and they've all come with different agendas and all sorts of things I didn't know about, And in your case, I just think you're such a principled guy. You're such a good journalist. You cover the stuff so well. Your analytical skills are spot on. We saw that with Carney this week. I mean, you were just like, you nailed it in every way, ahead of everybody else. And it's another good reason people should be subscribing to your Substack. But it's you really put in the work. You don't come across as a guy who puts in all the work, by the way. You don't, but you put in all the work. You know everything.
I'm a sneaky bathroom reader.
Yeah.
That's my research, sneaky bathroom reading and getting summaries from great AI tools. But appreciate it. And listen, I've got I just started it today for the rest of May. Before we move, I'm starting to think maybe it's not a smart idea to do a paywall in June. So we're going to push that off because I've just been absolutely floored by the support, and we put another 25% off of annual subscription. So if you
Done the same thing on mine. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's 25%.
Oh, you have? Yeah. I noticed that actually.
Yeah, because it's just like, firstly, people who do subscribe on an annual basis, they help us so much because it gives you some cushion. And at least I'm operating on a fairly lean budget here. So, whenever we can get the annual, and it costs money, all this stuff costs money. Ultimately, it doesn't just happen. Like productions like this cost money. It takes effort. It takes services. You got to buy content, buy photos. You got to buy video feeds. All these things that end up costing money. And as much as we try to keep every cost low, the annual subscriptions really help. So it's why we've discounted everything, but also just to say thank you to everybody. I mean, people I know it's a hard time for everybody. I know it's not easy to pick between which services to subscribe to, and it all costs way too much when you're looking at all your bills every month and trying to figure out how to make it happen. But the fact that people are subscribing and are supportive is so great, and this hopefully gives them a little bit of a break by giving them 25% off on the annual rates.
Yeah, and again, echoing that incredible sentiment, it is the honor of my lifetime anytime somebody gives me their time, right? Like to spend time with us, because you can't get more time, and to trust us with that time is one thing. For your financial support, to give us what you work so hard for, so you and I can stay in touch because you find value in this on top of the time that you're giving us. That's the stuff. I get emotional even talking about it. I mean, that's the stuff that truly has floored me, that has humbled me since coming over to Substack from parts unknown. So again, I get emotional even talking about it, but I can't thank you enough. Neither can Zev. And so you've got a couple of great subscription opportunities, 25% off both of our Substacks, narrative.org, deanblundell.substack.com. And take advantage of that. You can be part of the chats if you're watching this, because paid subs get part of chats, or it's just part of the mechanism of Substack. And monthly, free, it doesn't matter. We're just so grateful that you're here, grateful to have found you, and I'm grateful to be working with you. And I want everybody to have a wonderful Thursday. And thank you for watching the FiveStack, my friends.
Good night, everybody.